all, I hope you guys are doing good. I am doing good. I wanted to cover the topic that I had promised you guys in my previous video where I was talking about why building in the village is, something that's valuable for me. And in that video, I promised you guys that I was going to talk about another topic that my friend and I covered. And for those who don't know me, I am Mama D. I'm sharing my journey of building my home in rural South Africa, in the village, in a Xhosa village. And I'm building my home there because that's where I'm from. At least my mother is from, and my mother made sure that we were taken care of by making sure that she goes to the chief and get us land. And so as we were talking, my friend and I, we were, like just chit chatting about everything. One of the things we talked about was a lot of people. Let me just give context because I feel like with context you have more information to understand the topic better and to make more better decisions, right? So I like to give context for those people who don't understand our culture because they are Americans sometimes who listen to me. I don't want them to think that I'm psychobabbling as if they don't think that now. But I just want everyone who watches my video, catches my video, to have a context. So now, in South Africa, most people who build in the village, they are building in the village because they can get a piece of land for free because of their heritage. Their families have been there for generations, and that gives them access to land. And usually, like the parents are the ones who go and get a piece of land for their child, and then blah blah blah. It becomes that thing. But anyway, a lot of people are opposed to like building in the village. A lot of them, when they leave the village, they never want to come back. Okay, sort of like they feel like they are living a cult, so to speak, but they never want to come back, and they don't want to come back because they believe that there are a lot of curses and there's a lot of witchcraft in the villages. That people, like bad things happen in the villages. They've seen it from generation to generation, so they cannot wait to get out and never come back. And then there are people who, like stay back, and even if they hold those beliefs, they believe that they can fight and blah blah blah. I'm one of those people who believe that if you're a witch and you have the power to affect my life that way, you can make yourself win lotto so that you can stop being jealous of other people to a point where you want to become a witch, right? So that's my attitude towards this whole thing. So that's why I wasn't afraid to go to the village, because I'm like, you don't have that kind of power. If you did, you would win a lotto, right? And some people believe, no, they don't have a power to do good, they only have power to do evil. But I'm saying that you can change that power to do evil to a power to do good. But just to stay on topic, so a lot of people just want to leave the village and never come back, and so, but for me personally, as I said, I don't believe in that. But even with me not believing that there are people who have those kind of powers, I also know that there are people who wish people ill, who are evil in that regard, in that they want to see you fall down. They cannot wait to see you fall down. And yes, when you fall down, they may think, whatever that they were doing is working, but it's just that people do fall down, and your goal and your responsibility is to always get back up and be on your feet so that they can eat their own words, right? That, to me, that's how I live my life. Not that I live for other people, but I'm saying that I'm going to try and do good by myself so that I don't have to worry about other people, their powers or lack of powers, right? And so, but anyway, so my friend, so as we were talking about that, one thing I remembered, because I think there's physics in all of this, right? One thing I remember when my mother was young, okay? Oh, just to again give more better context. So, because people have been in these villages for generations, a lot of times there has been family feuds going generations back. And so that's where I think the people believe in those things. And when they go to the village, they're like, I mean, so when they leave the village, they're like, I don't want any of this, so I've left, I'm gone forever, right? So as we were talking, my friends, so I remembered my mother when she was growing up. There were families within our village, within our village that were feuding with our family. I remember it being a something, but because I grew up in Cape Town, I didn't see a lot of that. Like I kind of forgotten about all those things. And when my mother, before like she passed on, she made sure that all of her kids had land that they can build on, and I made sure that I had my own land that I wanted to pick the lot and say, this is my lot. All her lots were kind of around her house, but I wanted the view and everything, so I got a new lot for myself, okay? And so that's where I said I was going to build my house. And so now, when my mother was still living, a lot of people wanted to take my mother's stuff. They thought that as girls, first of all, we probably would never inherit, would get married and move on, or we would never want to come back and live in the village. So they were always trying to get her stuff, her houses and everything, right? And my mother fought them and successfully fought them, okay? To a point where when she passed on, all her stuff came to her children, and we were aware of what my mother owned, and and so we didn't have to ask people for their opinion as to what our mother owned. We knew exactly what she owned, and she left a will and made sure that we were getting all her stuff. But remember, a lot of these people wanted my mother's stuff when she was living. And then when my mother passed away, and it was clear that we were coming back and we were going to be, in the village, they had to come up with other ways, whether it was through lies by saying that, oh, your mother never owned this, or as if like we are supposed to hear it from them. And, oh, the land that you have was never your land. Making all these things as if I didn't go and ask for the land for myself. Do you understand what I'm saying? Saying all these things just as a way to rattle us and to make us feel like we don't belong. And also because we are women and our mother was a woman from that family, they wanted to make us feel like we don't belong there. And the interesting thing, when my mother passed away, right away, a lot of people were, all of a sudden, they saw my mother in my face. And I think it was because when mother passed away, I really wanted to embody her spirit, her fighting spirit, her never giving up spirit, the I can do it spirit. I wanted to embody that so much, and I wanted to fill that void, even though that I know I can never fill my mother's shoes, but I wanted to fill that for our family, because when my mother passed away, I was literally the one in the village, and when my mother passed away, I was there. I saw it all. Nobody told me. And so because my mother passed away in such an, abrupt, fashion, in a very sudden way, I felt like I was called to be there. I mean, after 20-something years in the United States, all of a sudden I'm in the village and I'm working from the village and I'm there when my mother passed away. I felt like I was called to protect her legacy. Really, that's what I felt I was called for. And all of a sudden people are saying to me, oh, you look just like, like your mom. And I'm thinking to myself, I don't see it, but people see it. Maybe they see it. I'm not going to, I love that people finally think I look like my mom, because when my mother was living, people didn't think I looked like my mom. So I felt like I was called really to protect her legacy, to protect her children, my sisters, to make sure that they get what belongs to them. And if they decide to do whatever they want to do, then it's up to them. But I wanted to make sure that my mother's legacy was safely in their hands. And so I became the target in so many ways, because now all of a sudden I was this person who was basically trying to continue my mother's legacy. Again, I had no idea that my mother was going to pass away. I thought my mother would have another good 10 years, but it happened, and I had to accept it. It was extremely hard, and I had to accept it. I'm making this video really to say sometimes we are put in place for a reason, okay? And not only are we are put in place for a reason, sometimes we're fighting generational battles, okay? And just same way that our parents, in my mother, in my case, had to fight these battles and she won, it is my responsibility to continue that fight, to make sure that I safely deliver my legacy, which is my mother's legacy, to my children, and in hopes that they also protect it moving forward. So really, that's what I wanted to say here, is that sometimes we fight generational battles, and we have to teach our children to be strong, because they will one day have to face, you won't be there. Like, we didn't know the battles that our mother was fighting, number one. And she protected us so well that we had a little bit of an inkling of what was going on, but we didn't know how deep it was. And because she was there, she was a shield for us. And now that she's gone, we are literally exposed. And our responsibility is to make sure that in everything that we do, we remain strong, and we teach our children to fight on their own behalf, because one day we won't be here to fight for them. And we have to understand that these battles did not start with us. They started with our past relatives, and our responsibility is to continue the fight that they have been fighting for generations. And it should not end with you. It should not end with you. Your responsibility is to stand steadfast in your power, and making sure that you protect your parents' legacy the same way they protected their parents' legacy, and is the reason why you are here today, standing on shoulders that came before you. So that's really what I wanted to make. That was the point I wanted to make, is that we must remain strong in the face of the onslaught that is enemies that are generational. Period.